And then did you download the PDF file from your My Classroom on the university website? And as I said before, most of the content coming from that PDF file. And also the major assignment, then you have to read two materials, reading packet. One is going to bullpen. I think it should be on the My Classroom. And also you need to read one actual case summary, Meki-chan versus St. Louis Hockey Club. No, you have to read two materials. Okay. Yeah. So I'm going to cover especially one of the two second material, Meki-chan versus St. Louis Hockey Club during the class, because that's one of the seminal case. Okay. Sports cases rarely be filed in the intermediate level of court. A lot of people believe that sports case, if you fight during the game, during the boxing, or during the basketball game, not many prosecutors willing to file a claim for those violences. Okay, what happened is usually the commissioner, the league commissioner, going to give the fine, a lot of money, maybe $50,000 to $500,000, depending on the nature of the behavior, which is not allowed. Also, one of the worst cases, you will be suspended from whole season, or you will be suspended for 5 games. Okay? So which means most of sports cases are civil court. In Korean, 민법, civil court. And then there's two types of court, civil court, or civil law, or criminal law, criminal court. 형법 and 민법. And most of the cases in sports industry will be civil law or civil court. But some of the exceptions, like one of the instructor of Taekwondo dojo molested or sexually abused one of the student, female student, or a minor. Okay, that will be criminal law. Okay. But other than that, most of the cases should be tort law, kind of negligent law, which means what I want is not you to serve in prison. I don't want you to serve in prison for years. But what I want is I injured at your fitness club, for example, that I need you to pay my medical bills, and then also kind of economic loss because I have to miss my work. Okay. Same thing if you're driving and have an accident. It says 90% the other party's fault, and you only contributed up to 10%, right? So 2-car collision, 90% negligent the other party, you only contributed only 10%. Total medical bill is $10,000. And typically, the other party need to pay $9,000 out of $10,000, 90% of my medical bill. Then you are only 10% responsible for a whole medical bill. However, the other party going to compensate the amount of money that you're going to miss. Because I have to stay in hospital because I'm injured. So how much do I make a day? Okay, you need to multiply how much money you make a day and how many days you have to stay in hospital. Multiply. And sometimes we call it in 위자료 in Korean, but some of the financial compensation for your mental distress or psychological issues. Okay? Sometimes it's not easy to translate your mental distress or psychological burden into dollar amount. Okay? But that's what the juries and lawyers trying to figure out. How much money do you think this is going to be? Okay? How much money do the other party have to pay for it? Okay? Okay, so if you look at the week number 1, actually we didn't cover this part the other last week. So I ask you, out of your own personal experiences or some of the indirect experiences from your family members or your brothers and sisters, or maybe your relatives, your friends. Question number 1. Have you ever injured while playing sports, working out at public and or private places, school gymnasium, recreation center, fitness club, or at the competition, etc.? If you participate in one of the university sponsored event, 학교 체육대회, university sanctioned event, and if you are one of the participant or athlete of 3-on-3 basketball sponsored by or endorsed by Hanyang University, you sprain your ankle, the medical bill will be about $3,000. What would you do? Are you going to pay out of money, out of your pocket? Okay, so depending on how much it's gonna cost, and then if it costs less than 10,000 won or less than $10, then okay, it's not a big deal. I don't want a headache and hassles to file a claim. I try to make it solved as soon as possible. However, it will cost more than you can handle. More than $1,000. I mean, you have some kind of bottom line. You can handle out of your pocket, or you can have your family or your parents can pay for it. However, worst case scenario, okay, you are not able to do that. Sometimes you don't have to do that because you are not negligent. So try to figure out what happened and where it happened and what you want in terms of real relief. Okay. And then if it's the case, then you can file a claim to get some financial compensation. So this is question number 1. Have you ever injured? So I want you to share your opinion, your experiences with your classmate. Okay, so I think you went to the good school because not many school administrators are aware of what happened. Unfortunately, it happened yesterday. My son, 3rd grade elementary school student, he actually burned his mouth and then on the side of the chin when he was drinking hot water. So he was sent to the hospital. So I sent an email to the president, the principal of the school. So try to explain in a nice way. Okay. So think about if you're handling all the young, especially lower grader elementary school student. Okay, you should provide some warning sign for that audience can understand easily. Okay, do not just draw a kind of a red hot kind of symbol in front of the button. Okay, so this is one of the examples. Who's responsible? Who's negligent? Did you prepare appropriately for your audiences? Symbols, warning signs should be differentiated depending on the nature and kind and size of the audiences. If I have all the elementary school students in this classroom, I have to fix all the terms and terminology and phrases because they do not understand. I wouldn't expect they understand my legal terms in the textbook. Okay, so depending on who your audiences are, I have to modify all my languages and terminologies and etc. Okay. Okay, so that's a great story. So you acted her, and then fortunately, you're about $30 were reimbursed by. Okay, so I think Park Jong-won, you brought up very keen issue that we're going to cover today, which is assumption risk. Assumption of risk. If you play basketball, If you sprain your ankle when you jump or when you land down, you sprain your ankle, right? That's normal. Okay, that's your assumption risk. If you sprain your ankle, then nobody's responsible unless you are coerced or pushed by the other player on purpose, or we call it in legal term grossly negligent. Okay, you don't have to write down right now because I'm going to show in my slide. Grossly negligent. What about volleyball? When you play volleyball, broke your finger, you are the volleyball player. That's normal. Bruise on your eyes, you're a boxer. Okay. So depending on what kind of nature of sport event you play, you participate, then there's some kind of limitation. Then you can brought this accident into the court. So that's what we're going to cover today. Thank you so much, Park Jung-won and Choi Jin-soo. Okay, this is a kind of area, broad area. A broad area that we're going to cover. I think I mentioned briefly about a couple of topics this class will cover. Can you see this slide? Okay. So number one, university leaves its current conference affiliation to go to another conference, which means big time university in the United States. When I say big time, that's the kind of a nickname of largest size of university with a big or huge football programs and basketball programs. How much do you think Stanford University bring in to school a year out of their athletics event?
What do you mean by bringing
Revenue. Yeah. Athletics revenue. Just think about only 3 events. Football games. How many football games do they play a year? Less than 20 games a year. Every Saturday. Some schools play on Sunday, but big time universities, major universities that you know, you're familiar with, they play on Saturday. So one conference, small conference, regional conference, consists of usually 10 to less than 14 universities. So you have to play twice per team. So you have to play probably 20 to 25 games per season. So one home game and the other away games. So some university football stadium is having more than 100,000 people. Okay, 3 or 4 times larger than Jamsil's baseball stadium. What about World Cup stadium? About 40,000 capacity. So probably 2.5 times bigger size of stadium they're playing. Especially 6 collegiate stadiums actually having more than 6-digit numbers. What about basketball? University of Florida, how many people the facility, the arena can have? 15,000 to 20,000. So 15,000 and to 20,000 people watching the game in the arena, not as a stadium, not in the stadium. I'm talking about indoor facility. Okay. First level, second, and upper level. And then luxury suite and a lot of club seat. Okay. Stanford can bring in probably more than $150 million a year. And University of Michigan, Ohio State, other major public universities bring in more than $150 million. In Korean won, probably 1,500억 won to 2,000억 won a year. Okay. Big money. So university try to join one of the prominent conferences. Some conferences bringing more money because the conferences looks great. All the best teams, best university teams in this conference, which means attract more attention from big time medias such as CBS, or depending on the sport, ABC, NBC, or ESPN, or Fox Sports. There's a major public broadcasters as well as cable TVs. They are not able to broadcast every single game occurring at the same day or same time. So university, okay, we're leaving this conference to join another conference. So that's the contract law. Everyone does the same. Okay? They're smart enough to know what's happening. So they're trying to bind certain number of universities stay within the conferences at least for next couple of years. Okay? You're not moving. Okay? If you move, the other team try to move, try to leave, and this conference will break. So nobody wants that to happen. So second, professional sports team has a issue with the salary cap in signing a player. Think about salary, a professional athlete. Obviously, they make a lot of money, significantly more money than we can make a year. Right? But think about, do you think they deserve what they're worth in the market? Some player like a Kang Jung-ho makes had a major deal, like a 5-year deal, about $9 million for 5 years, $4 million for contract fee, and then he makes about $1.6 million. If I assume that $1 equals 1,000 won, then he makes 16억 won a year, and then he makes 40억 as a contract fee. Okay. Some players, next, right, second best to Kang Jung-ho. Then think about how much money he can make. What about third to Kang Jung-ho? Not as good as Kang Jung-ho, but it's not worse than awkwardly worse than Kang Jung-ho. Makes how much money? Maximum salary of the new player, 2,400만 won a year, $24,000 a year. Some players makes $1.6 million, and bench player, same position, a little bit less than, little bit worse than Kang Jung-ho, makes $24,000 a year. Does it make sense? Okay. What about FA, free agency? How many years the KBO or professional Korean baseball players can become or can be eligible to be free agent? 8 years. If you graduated from university, then it will be 8 years. If you never attend college, then it will be 9 years. Is it fair? I'm the best player. I don't want to go to university or college because professional teams wants me so badly. I'm ready to play in professional level, and then I need money, right, in the situations. Only because I never attend to university or I didn't complete university, then I have to stay 1 more year. In 9 years stay in healthy condition, which means you have to play certain number of games a year for 9 years plus military service. 9 years plus you have to serve at least 21 months, right? About 2 years, 11 years. If you're super healthy and if you're never injured, continues to play 9 years after your completion of your military service, okay, you will be free agent at the age of 32. Okay, then you are super lucky and super good at age of 32. Then you will be billionaire like Kang Jung-ho. How many players try to play in KBO every year. Think about how many universities have a baseball team, and seniors, and high school seniors. Okay. Several hundred people. And then how many people will be free agent? One digit, less than 10 free agent every year. So several hundred longing for being a free agent. Okay, bright future at the age of 20. But eventually, in reality, it's not going to happen. That's the collective bargaining and contract law. In Major League Baseball, free agency is different, 6 years. And then if you make to KBA, MLB, Major League Baseball, there's a guaranteed salary. The minimum salary will be about $500,000. Okay, that's guaranteed salary. Minimum salary in Major League Baseball, $500,000. In Korea, $24,000. 20 times. In terms of ability, performance, I don't think Major League Baseball players playing 20 times better than ours. Market is different. I mean, there's a lot of complicated issues within that topic, but think about it. I want you to ask yourself, they are not laborers. They don't want to stay as one of this format of belongings to the franchise for 9 years, okay, with sort of minimum salary. Okay, prosecutor charges an athlete with a sexual assault. Once again, this is a criminal law. We're trying to minimize these criminal issues in this class, because once it happened, doesn't matter, regardless of sports setting or not, prosecutors going to jump in, okay, and investigate. But we do not cover as much as the other prosecutors do. Okay, and then female basketball coach at college assert that she should be paid the same as the men's basketball coach. Who makes what? Okay. Like in my position, doesn't matter if male or female. The salary will be determined by the position. Assistant professor or associate professor or full professor, and number of experiences. Okay. Equal payment. But what about in sports? Why we pay more to foreign head coach of soccer team, especially national team? Coach Hush, he didn't, makes a lot of money, made a lot of money, and Coach Shtilike, he makes more money than former Korean counterpart. I don't have any number with me right now, but we know that, right? If you want to recruit international or foreign coaches, then obviously you need to pay for more benefit, at least some of the compensations, salary plus some of the perks, perkit, kind of golf season ticket, or maybe some of the some additional budget for travel, or maybe insurance policy for whole the family members, and sometimes educational fee for their spouses or their children. So if we combine all these factors, then probably I can say absolutely foreign coaches make more money. Do you think it's fair? What about gender-wise? Male coaches and female coaches. So what do you think? Or as an example, WKBL coaches and KBL coaches. Let's say KBL coach, both are males, and KBL team's coaches has 10 years of experience in coaching, and WKBL coaches has 15 years of experience in coaching. Do you think KBL's coach makes more money than KBL's coach? Or WKBL's coach make more than KBL's coach because he has 5 more experiences in coaching? Or do you think WKBL coach deserve more salary than their KBL's counterpart because 5 more experiences? Because it's kind of complicated, because we don't know, or we don't have any exact way to estimate or measure coach's contribution to the whole team's revenue. But we can tell which teams bring more fans plus more revenue in terms of ticket sales, media sales, and merchandise sales, concession sales. Not necessarily a person with more experience deserve more revenue. That's not right, right? So we have to deliberately measure how much you contribute to bring in more money to the institution. Okay. Among the sports, baseball coaches deserve more salary than their basketball coach? Or what about non-revenue generating sports? We call it in Korean 비인기 종목 coaches. Who deserve more salary? Okay, you can compare different kind of sports. Obviously, who brings more money? If your sports do not bring any revenue and profit, then there's no reason we pay that much money to you like other industries do. Good? Okay, so third law all the way, assumption risk. So this is a assumption risk that Park Jung-won mentioned. A fan hit by a foul ball may not recover from the baseball club for injuries. I have so many stories about fan being hit by a foul ball. Okay. So this is assumption risk. Okay. So this is a topic that we're going to cover in 2 weeks. Okay. Assumption risk in speculative sports and trademark law. Sport business names each sports or pattern with a name very similar to another product name. I went to Haeundae Sunday, and then I realized that there's a street name is Olympic Boulevard in Haeundae. Olympic Boulevard, and then one of the sauna is Olympic sauna. Olympic sauna. Do you think it's okay to do it? If you go to LA, Koreatown in LA, United States, then you will see Olympic 세탁소, Olympic laundry stores, Olympic saunas. Everybody names Olympic as one of the store name. Who believe it's okay to use Olympic right next to their title of the store? Okay. Sure? Why? Chris? Okay, so Chris, you are partially right, because some of the words we call it genetic, because that's not unique, and everyone have to use that word. Like Michael Jordan tried to register his one-hand dunk shot as a trademark. He said, "Oh, this is me. I created this dunk shoot, and he failed. He couldn't do it because trademark officer said, "Oh, this is too genetic. If you play basketball, you don't have to create because many people can do it in that same way or similar way. You cannot own any form or any gesture in sports. But at the same time, this is a part of your likeness. Because when you shoot in this way, then we can tell, oh, that's Michael Jordan probably. But you cannot own that shoot." And some of the golf player actually trying to register his golf swing as a trademark. No way. Too genetic, what Chris said. But for Olympic, this is a trademark registered. Unless you have a certain region, then you are not able to use Olympic. What about the sponsors? Visa, Samsung, McDonald's, those companies pays millions of dollars. They pay more than $10 million a year, I think, for 4-year period. Why do they pay that much money? Because of the word, trademark, symbols, Olympic symbols, Olympic ring, and the word Olympic. They want to use those words and symbols associated with their product and services they're selling. Without paying certain licenses or loyalty or some different format, that you are not able to use it. Okay, so for that, going back to the story, IOC actually advised them certain store, okay, should locate it right next to Olympic Village during 1984. Then they were allowed to use the Olympic because there was some special reason to do it. But other than that, they're not able to. There's no reason. Make sense? So this is intellectual property. And another example, in the 1980s, San Francisco, gays and lesbians, we call it like LGBT, right? Bisexual, transgenders. They organize kind of Olympic types of sporting event, bringing more than 20,000 athletes. They called it Gay Olympic Games. IOC wasn't happy. And then Gay Olympic Games organizing committee said, oh, we actually benchmarking the same format. Event, logistics, accommodation, all the platforms, it's very similar. And then IOC said, oh, you are not able to use it. Okay. IOC owns the name of the word Olympic. So because of that lawsuit, and the game changes to gay games. No more gay Olympic Games. But if you watch some TV, I watched the 진짜 사나이 a couple months ago, one of the Korean military experience show, and one of the army actually had some competition. They call it ABC Olympic. So I forgot the exact name of the competition, but they uses the Olympic. So I said, oh, okay, they are not allowed to use Olympics. They didn't pay any money. They didn't contribute to any Olympic charter or Olympic movement, based on my understanding. But a lot of people kind of ignore that or not aware of the trademark law. What about the World Cup? Okay. From one of the stock market broadcasting TV show, actually there was some program, eight investors, and they're competing each other who makes more money out of the stock investment. And then the name of this program is some World Cup. Maybe I say ABC Stock World Cup. So this kind of a tournament. If you made more money, then you will survive for next round. If not, you'll be out of the game. So they said World Cup on screen. Yeah. World Cup, it's not genetic. It seems like it's genetic because we use a lot, but technically not. Without FIFA World Cup, then there's no reason we're familiar with those words. Okay, contract law, tort law, Title IX. University eliminate in women's gymnastic team and the men's basketball team. So this Title IX we might cover at the last class of this semester. Gender issue. Okay, can you think about some other issues that you experience on a daily basis? Okay, military has their own legal system. I think because certain areas actually protected by our common law or civilian court, so we actually try to respect their own governance. So that's why sometimes it doesn't make sense to our perspective, but it happens again and again because they have their own governance rules and regulations. Okay, so have you read The Anatomy of a Lawsuit? So this story, I have two different stories about Anatomy of a Lawsuit, because this story cannot tell you what to do. If you were the victim, if you were the plaintiff, in Korea, 원고 plaintiff, or if you're the defendant or 피고인, somebody trying to file a claim against you and your organization, we need to know what we have to do. The main purpose of this class is not to train you as a lawyer or attorney, but to train you as a sports manager who understand the legal situations. We call it preventive law, not as a reactive law. Reactive is something happened, then you need to react. And then you can you can hire attorneys outside your company or your organization. But preventive is if we know it's going to happen or it's foreseeable, something going to happen, then you know how to prevent it from happening. Let's say I'm in charge of this class. This is broken. Okay, what do I do? This is broken. If one of my students going to sit in here, then obviously he or she will fall, maybe potentially injured. So what I'm going to do, put a sign, put a note on it, broken. Do not sit on this chair, or put it on the side. That's negligent. That's the topic, right? So not necessarily file a claim to have a compensation, but you need to know as a prospective sports manager in the future, you're going to find a job and you will be working for a certain organization. But some fans or client, customer, whatever you call it, try to file a claim against you. What would you do? You have to understand the whole structures of body of legal system. Okay, so let's take a look at the hypothetical example. Who wants to read the first part? Okay, 박정원, first part. Okay, so the first thing you have to do is complaint. Okay, complaint, written document. Today I'm going to explain 4 elements of negligence. But you will better understand when and where you can file a claim. But right now, if somebody is injured and you believe, oh, this should be responsible by the golf course owner, then you need to hire tort attorney, then explain what happened. The attorney's job is to write a written document which is called complaint and specifically indicating what you want. Remedies, usually financial compensation, including economic loss, medical bills, okay, potential foregone income, which means the amount of money that you would make unless you were injured. So you need to include how much money you will lose. Then you need to write down specifically and send it to the defendant. Okay, second part. Choi Jin-soo, you want to read the second part? Okay, thank you, Choi Jin-soo. So, if you file a claim, which is a complaint, and the other party, defendant's party, need to respond. Okay, just make sure if the plaintiff were lying or not, or exaggerating the fact or not. So there's 2 different ways to do it. In depositions, oral testimony, because I want you to come to the court, probably the attorney on behalf of the client, and explain what happened under oath. And then the other way, the most common way is interrogatories, just written document, usually less than 30 pages. Okay. You need to answer as much as possible, as specific as possible. Okay. Which one do you think preferred by defendant's party, between depositions or interrogatories? Oral testimony versus written document. Oral testimony or depositions is not preferred. Why? Money. You need to pay your attorney by hour. How many hours do you hire? If you ask your attorney to go to court to provide oral testimony under oath, okay, how much money you have to pay? $200 an hour, depending on the location where the attorney is located. In New York, you need to pay $1,000 an hour, so it will probably several $1,000 depending on the location, worst case scenario. But oral testimony doesn't matter, just less than 30 pages long. They know what to do, they know how to do it. So it's much easier for everybody, defendant and attorneys, and they prefer to use interrogatories. And then John's lawyer deposed the club's maintenance staff about the condition of the bridge and requested the maintenance record to ascertain whether the club had acted reasonably to keep the bridge in a safe state of repair. This is a oral testimony or witness, expert witnesses. I want to bring some of the involved staff or employees and ask about the condition of the bridge. Okay? Was any signal to be followed up and then there's no signs actually installed, then that's your fault. But if you are not not aware of that potential danger, then okay. Second question, which means, did you inspect the bridge before the event? And if you did, how often and in what way? Okay. If you do not inspect, just if you observe, oh, it's okay, it looks okay, then that's part of your negligence. You did not complete your job. Okay. So that's the next thing. And often the result of the discovery lead to out-of-court settlement. Usually, one of the negligent cases, okay, there's no number, but probably most of the cases agreed on before they go into court. Okay, once again, it's not about going to prison. Okay, I assume that 30% fault, and you are 70% fault. There must be some negotiation among the attorneys or among the parties, but usually they were eager to settle out of the court. But just in case you are not happy, okay, I'm not 30% contributed to my injury, and then you keep saying that you just paying limited amount of money to me, then I'm not happy. So I can bring this case to the court, trial court, and then if you're not happy, then you can bring it to the upper level, which is the intermediate court. Okay, and then going again and again. So the second from the bottom, if John wins the case, he will collect compensatory damages to compensate him for his injury. Compensatory damages are monetary payment, once again, monetary payment for actual injury or economic loss, and may include compensation for such things as medical expenses or property damage, potential salary loss. Okay, you have to miss your job. And then this is important. If the country club was found grossly negligent, which means grossly negligent is part of the negligence, which means they knew, they were aware of the potential issue within the bridge, and they didn't do it. Okay? They didn't do it. This is a fall apart. There's just screws missing or bolts missing. What do you expect? Then there is a punitive damages. In Korean, 징벌적 손해배상. Once again, 징벌적 손해배상. In English, punitive damages. In Korea, we do not adopt 징벌적 손해배상. So if it happened, you are really, really bad. You knew something would happen, but you didn't take any action. Then we're going to charge you punitive damages, and then the amount of money will be hugely different. Okay. Some of the legal issues within Korean airline, right? Okay, so they try to fight in the United States because they allow punitive damages. How much your mental distress worth? I think millions of dollars. Okay? So that's the punitive damages. It can be millions of dollars. Absolutely. So this is an unlimited amount of money. So we call it in Korean, kind of, you need to understand this as 위자료. But punitive damages, you don't have to serve in prison, but you need to pay way over than you can do. Okay, so as an actual example, one of the Korean laundry store owner was fired because he lost $1,000 pants. Of owner of the pants was the federal judge in Washington D.C. So he wasn't happy that laundry owner lost his pants. So he filed a claim. How much? how much? More than $50 million. So he said he filed a claim, I deserve more than 500억 because my mental distress and the punitive damages. So he didn't win. Actually, he lost the suit and actually dismissed the case, and because of public opinions. Think about laundry owner. He doesn't have $50 million. Too harsh on the one of the small business owner. So he actually was asked to leave the job as a federal judge. Yeah. But think about the rationale. He knows the rules. He knows the law. He's a federal judge. He's been working in the legal industry, legal system for more than 30 years. And how can come up with $50 million for $1,000 value loss of pension? Okay, because of punitive damages.